what I do as a fractional CMO, I mean, my focus is on paid digital channels. So, I'm not an SEO guy. I'm not a content person and so forth. Even though, I've been a copywriter for decades. But actually as a copywriter, I was always focused on persuasion copy, getting people to pull out their wallet and hand over their money. That was really always been my focus for 35 plus years. So, when it comes to paid digital channels, obviously my focus is on achieving some kind of client acquisition and conversion, and but that can be broken down to different objectives. So just a real brief overview of how I work. I have a process here, and it's all about what I do is I use different ad channels to achieve different things. So initially, when you're starting out, maybe you need to acquire a client and you have a target KPI, a target cost per acquisition. Let's just, for argument's sake, say it's $20. I have no idea what it is, but let's just say it's $20. Then the whole process here is to test until you achieve that objective and then scale. So the best channel to test in is Facebook for a number of reasons. One is because it has access to pretty much any market segment you might want to target. And it also has the most advanced machine learning system that lets you test different messaging, hooks, angles, concepts, and then it also, which the other ad channels are catching up, but Facebook still does it the best, where it can target now based on the ad. So in the old days, meaning yesterday, in the old days, you would go into an ad channel and you would say, okay, who's my target market? And it might be this kind of segment with this demographic and this geographical location. And so there'd be a lot of time spent on figuring out the targeting, and then you would test the message. Well, now, because Facebook's advanced enough, you don't need to do that targeting. You just leave it broad, and it targets based on what's in your ad. So it can read the ad copy, obviously. It can read in an image. It can even read what's being said in a video. And based on that, it will decide who to target. And so let's say we're at square one and we're trying to achieve a certain cost per acquisition. So the testing process starts. The only thing that it wants to achieve initially is to acquire customers at a certain price. And then once that is to a point where it's both consistent and predictable and at an acceptable CPA, then you work on scaling, and you can scale both on Facebook and all the different Google platforms, which includes search and display and video, and obviously there's other channels besides that. So when I am doing testing, I will, this is an example of testing. Actually, this was live. This was for a client project. And instead of just say writing an ad and coming up with an image, or what some agencies I've worked with in the past, what they would do is they would, I don't know, they would use some kind of software to generate hundreds, maybe even thousands of headlines, ad copy, images, and then it would just throw it all up there. It's kind of like throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. It's very inefficient method of testing, expensive, and no guarantee that anything's going to work. So what I do here is, this is taking both old school copywriting skill and current day modern machine learning testing. So
Awesome.
the old school copywriting skill would be, okay, we're trying to achieve a certain objective with a certain target audience. We have a certain offer. What are some different concepts that would sell that offer? So if we look up here, say this one is for golf. I have the perfect shot, pressing tour pros, golfers over 55 and 60, and so forth. So these are different concepts that appeal to golfers. But then when I test initially on Facebook, I actually don't create completed ads. I just test individual elements of ads. So with Facebook, you have the primary text, which goes above the image. You have the image or the video, which is called creative. And then you have a headline. And we don't bother with a description because most people don't see it anyway. So, you know, I'll work with, I mean, I'm a copywriter myself, but I'll also work with a copywriting team and with a creative team, and I'll get different primary text copy developed. So there's a lot of copy here. And then a whole bunch of headlines. And then, well, you can't see here the creatives, but these are different images that I worked with designers to create. And I test these individual elements. So the reason I do this is because the way to achieve the best results on Facebook is to understand what Facebook's business model is. And their model is to keep people on the platform as long as possible, which is not actually in contradiction with what we want, which is what we want them to click and leave the site. Of course, we want them to click on our ad and leave the site. So where do these two meet in the middle? Well, they meet by reading between the lines. Facebook want to keep them on the platform. In other words, they want to keep them happy. They want people to have a good experience on Facebook and come back and use Facebook again and again and again, and to keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. That's their objective, because they're selling eyeballs for profit. So they don't want to lose their eyeballs by having advertisers peeve them off or make them mad or offend them or anything else. So the way to achieve meeting Facebook's objective while meeting your own is to use something that Facebook call branded estimated action rate. So that's a particular metric that they use when you're testing. And so when I'm doing these initial tests and I'm breaking it down by element, just testing the individual elements, I'm not testing for a conversion. I'm testing for branded estimated action rate and cost per click. So the brand estimated action rate tells me it's Facebook's algorithm telling me how engaging is this content for the audience, and would it keep them on the platform? It's basically a score. And then the cost per click, you know, are they clicking on the ad? Are they trying to engage with it? That's telling me, or at least give me some kind of score. Is this element engaging enough that it looks like the audience will, you know, do some action that I want, which is to click on the ad and go buy something, of course. So essentially, I test the individual elements. I have a scoring system. I have winners and losers. And if I have, and once I get the winners, then I have, Facebook has this thing called dynamic creative, which it will combine. You give it individual headlines, primary text, and creative, and it will combine them and create all the different possible combinations of ads that there are and run them all at the same time. And it will also use its machine learning to find the, you know, ideal audience for each of those combinations of ads.
Nice.
And what a lot of people don't understand with Facebook is it doesn't keep data on the account level or the campaign or ad set level. It keeps it on the ad level. And every ad is a individual landing page in the Facebook ecosystem. So it's keeping lots of data on that level. It's accumulating what type of target audience works for this ad, what type of stick rate does this page have, what type of positive versus negative engagement does it have, all this type of stuff. So what I do is after I test the individual elements, I combine them into a dynamic creative. And if you were to feed Facebook the maximum number of elements you can, 5 headlines, primary text, 10 creative, and so forth, you get 250 ads, which is way too many. Because you would never have a budget to support that kind of test.
Right.
My goal is to have no more than 20 ads per dynamic creative test. That way everything gets a statistical significant test.
Cool. This is awesome. This is so comprehensive. I think.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So
It's
It's great because it works. I mean, there's an old saying in copywriting going back to, the 1920s and Claude Hopkins. Find out what people want and give it to them.
right.
But, you could equally apply that to current day digital marketing. People have all sorts of trouble with Facebook and Google search and YouTube, and you throw up their hands and say it doesn't work. They're just taking our money. Nothing works.
Right.
But it's because they never found out what the machine wants and they never gave it to them.
Right.
So this system, I'm not going to claim I was smart enough to come up with it myself. This system, I've worked with different people. And for example, one person I've worked with has spent profitably over $500 million on Facebook.
Wow.
And worked directly with the engineers at Facebook that developed many of the features in the ad platform. And
awesome.
a lot of this system came out of him working with the engineers of Facebook, and also working with, I believe for quite some time, he worked with a VP at Guthy Renker that used to spend $100 million a year on infomercials where your only attribution is whoever calls within 5 minutes of the end of the show. So a lot of these system details came from people like that. And also, of course, I've been doing this 35 years myself. So I have a lot of my own stuff here too. So anyway, that's the testing. But this is just the start, because once you get, the goal is to get one control ad and then get a collection of control ads. And a control ad I define as an ad that delivers consistent and predictable results at an acceptable CPA, cost per acquisition. And until you have that, obviously you can't move forward. You have to have a collection of ads that are predictable, consistent, and acceptable cost. Then you can start to test all sorts of new things. Now that I'm delivering a stream of customers that are profitable because they're at the right CPA, can I now test completely different marketing objectives and test different ad channels? So the way that this is tracked, this is a Facebook, it's called a daily Scrum Doc. And here I have currently 3 objectives: prospecting, retargeting, strategic testing. I could have any kind of objective I want. The way that the ad channels, all of them, if you go into their platform and look at their reports, I mean, it's fine. It's all reported by campaign, ad set, ad level, and so forth. But you cannot get any reporting based on objectives. So I extract the data from the platform and I do a pivot table, and then I throw it in here on a daily basis. And what this allows me to do is look at the trends, because it's not about the daily results, it's about the trend. How is it moving week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year? Year over year is interesting, because if you run a certain campaign, say Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaign, how did it work last year when you're coming up to it the next year? How did the numbers look? And also, I would be keeping, sometimes I get confused which thing to hit, because some clients want me to use Google Sheets and I like using Excel. They're in different places. I will have this testing roadmap for the next 30, 60, 90 days, but I'll also have this testing log for major tests. What were we trying to achieve? What were our numbers, and what was the status? Did it succeed and it has become part of the program? Is it still in testing? Did it not succeed? And so forth. But also on here, I will have what happened last Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I can go back and look, what did we do last year? And what was the data? So that we can think about what we're going to do this year. When it comes to just more immediate changes and optimizations, I'll have this optimization log.
Nice.
I'm attempting to increase the budget while keeping the CPA the same. And so I will map it out before I do it, and then do it, and then put the results in here. But the other thing is this allows somebody to, if something goes wrong, you can roll back. You can look in and go, what did I change before it all went haywire? And I can roll it back. And normally the algorithm will pick up where it left off if you remove a bad move. So the testing roadmap, unfortunately, you know, this is, I don't have any data in this. It's just a sample doc. But the one thing to note here is the testing is broken down by category, but it's also, the reason it's mapped out by week is there may be codependencies between the tests. Like I can't do a certain test until the previous test is done. And that's why this lets me map out what I plan to do. And of course, obviously I can change it based on things that are going on. And nobody has an unlimited budget. So that's the other constraint, is budget. And so the budget also has to be assigned between testing and then depending upon results. But if we go back to these Scrum docs, this is for Facebook. It's for Google search, GDN, that's display, YouTube. Email is not a paid channel, of course, but it's I can put in a Scrum doc for every other channel, because ultimately in the end, nobody really cares about their Facebook results versus the YouTube results. What they care about is their overall ecosystem results.
Sure.
And so the reason for having the individual docs is obviously that's where you're doing the advertising or you're running campaigns, but what you're really paying attention to is overall, what's my CPA or cost per acquisition overall? What's my blended CPA? And so in this document here, I have the different channels. It's Facebook, search, GDN, YouTube, email, and so forth. And then this is a total of all those channels. Of course, I say here it's using one-click data, and that's because, you know, there's an issue with attribution with these digital channels. Of course, there's always been an issue with attribution even before digital. If you think about it, if you're a one-channel company, say you're only doing direct mail, I used to do that a lot. If we send out a mailing and then the coupons come back in direct mail, so it comes in the mail, has a little code on it, you know for sure where it came from. But the truth is most companies are not one channel. And so even if a direct mail coupon comes back, somebody might have seen it in a magazine, or they might have seen it online, or they might have seen it on the billboard. Do I really know it was just the email? I mean, just the direct mail that caused them to buy, or was it a combination? We don't know, and we'll never know. I mean, people have spent billions of dollars trying to come up with a multi-channel attribution system, and they fail because it's not possible. But so to take account of that, I set all the ad channels to 1-day click. So what that means is each channel will only count it as a sale for a particular ad if the sale came the same day that they clicked on the ad. And if I have Google do the same, GDN, YouTube, and so forth, all on one-day click, it doesn't make any of them more accurate per se, but it cuts down the overlap. The longer a person takes to make a decision, the more channels they were probably exposed to. So I cut down the overlap. Also, even if it means they're under reporting, if I can improve the 1-day click, then I'm absolutely improving the overall number, because I'm improving the toughest one to get. 1-day click is the toughest sale to get. So this is a summary of all the ad channels, 1-day click. And this is a summary of what's really going on. This is the bank, your source of truth, your CRM, shopping cart, whatever you want to call it. This is the actual sales in the bank. And there will be a difference between the source of truth and the total of the ad channels. Normally though, because I track these percentages, normally the difference between the two is generally the same. It generally trends to be the same. And each of these ad channels tend to have a particular percentage that they're off. So Facebook might be showing 70% search might be showing 80%, but they generally stay the same.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is when I'm tracking target CPAs by channel, it's not just by channel. If it's a multi-channel campaign, I'm trying to find the optimal cost per acquisition based on how much percentage of spend that channel gets. An example is if I'm running both search and Facebook, and it looks like search does better, and I could make the argument search is intent traffic, so they're looking for me, so they're probably more ready to buy. So I might think, well, I should cut my Facebook spend because Facebook's CPA is higher. It's not doing as well as search. So I could completely cut my Facebook, but if I was tracking it like this on these trend analysis, I might find if I cut my Facebook budget, that my cost per acquisition on search actually goes up. And the reason it would go up is because actually a lot of people saw me on Facebook first and then went and searched for me. So Facebook was actually helping and contributing to my Google search results.
Right.
And the only way to know that is to track it like this.
Cool.
You can actually do tests, and many do this, where you can cut the budget on one channel by 10% for a week and see what happens. And you might find that yes, the profit goes up immediately, but then it starts to trend down because the already seen it effect starts to disappear. And so then the results on other channels tend to go down. And of course, if you think about it, if email is a channel and they're seeing it on Facebook, but not converting, but they're seeing it on Facebook and then searching, and then they end up on the email list, of course, it's all helping email too.
Brilliant.
I mean, people think, oh, email, we should just do email because there's no cost. But
yeah,
email is really taking all the credit for everything else. So this is the whole idea here, is to find your best blended result across all channels.
Awesome.
So that's why you have, where am I? That's why you have this testing roadmap. You're testing all these different things to find out how to get to the right point. And then the only other thing I really want to show here is this thing called active rules. So with machine learning systems, and Google aren't too far behind Facebook in terms of the sophistication of their machine learning, is the best way to get the best result on these channels is to use automated rules to train the machine learning. So the machine learning is kind of like a dog that needs to be trained for walking, or house trained, or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't know until you continually reinforce what it needs to do. Well, it's the same with the machine learning. If you think about it, let's say our acceptable CPA is $20 and Facebook is delivering $45, like more than double what you want. If you let that keep running, well, the machine learning doesn't know what you want. So if you let it keep running, it will think it's acceptable. So we'll keep delivering more at $45. But if you have a set of automated rules that look pretty much, every 30 minutes, we'll look at the results of campaigns and ads. And if it sees that a particular ad has gone more than 20% over its target CPA, then it will turn it off. And it will turn it back on at midnight. And it will continually track these. And the best way to do it is to track it on a trend analysis 7-day rolling average CPA that it's delivering. Because the good thing about doing that is if it starts to trend upward and gets turned off continually, then it might end up getting turned off for 4 days and its rolling average will have dropped back into the acceptable range. So then when it gets turned back on, the machine learning's goal is to keep running ads because that's how they make money. And if they find out whenever they go over a certain price of delivery that they get turned off, then the machine learning is going to try harder to find an audience that converts at the right price. That's how you train the machine learning. So there's different methods. These are strategies. That's my testing strategy. But this is called performance gate scaling, which is kind of what I was just describing. It will scale when it's doing well, and it will contract when it's going over budget. But it will start the next day if it scales and it's all okay. It will stay at the higher level, and the next day it'll scale some more. And if as long as it stays within budget, it'll keep scaling. But if it doesn't, it will turn the ads off and pull back. But it all does it automatically by these rules. The other thing to mention about scaling is this is important because most people running ads have the view that the way to scale is to run some tests, get an ad that works, and then increase the budget on that ad. And that is absolutely a way to have your ad tank. Because there's a certain budget going on with the with every bid, and a formula, and budget is one of those elements. So if you increase the budget without increasing the other operators in the equation, then all you're going to do is increase the price that you get delivered at. So the way to scale by increasing efficiency is, as I mentioned before, you want a collection of control ads. And the way that Facebook and more and more these days Google work is that they will read the copy, and they have so much data on users that they not only know who to target and what they want, but they know where they are in their customer journey. So if you have a collection of ads from different angles, different appeals, but also at a different point of the customer journey, then the algorithm will figure out who gets to see which ad based on where they are in their customer journey. I mean, if they see that a person has been visiting CarMax multiple times and looking for a Lexus IS250, because that's what I'm looking for, to replace my old one, then
good one.
They will know, let's say, okay, I'm running an ad for a Lexus IS250. Facebook will know I'm a prime candidate at the bottom of the funnel. Right. So it will show me an ad that appeals to bottom of the funnel instead of top of the funnel.
Cool.
As long as I give it the collection of ads. So the way to scale results by increasing efficiency is to give it more options. Give the algorithm more options to pick from, and it will get more efficient on what price it delivers at. And as my CPA gets reduced below my target, I can increase my budget. That's when I increase my budget.